Mr. Bath, thank you very much for doing this. Americans have been distracted. I think I've certainly been distracted by what's happening in Iran. But there has been a very significant escalation in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and really Russia and the West. Can you describe how that conflict has changed recently?
Well, there is several points. Let's start from the situation that this conflict is not conflict between Ukraine and Russia. This conflict basically between Russia and entire coalition of willing. It's NATO, United States, plus other vassals, I would say, with the Western world, who is just blindly complies. So they, from get-go, supply to Ukraine all kind of the armaments. Initially, it was javelins and lambs, anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles. Then it went to the Patriots. Then it went to the tanks, Abrams, Leopards. Then it went to the F-16. And every time Ukrainians and their handlers, especially in London, especially MM6, thinking this would be a game changer, doesn't work. Ukraine really losing grounds. Maybe not as fast as we want, but frontline progressing. Every week there is several, villages, small towns are being liberated by Russian army. Of course, since last year, decision was to remove all the military production from Ukraine to the Europe, which was done efficiently. Just more than months ago, Russian Ministry of Defense published a list of all these factories who, in fact, in Europe producing armaments for the Ukrainian army. So think of this. They are the logistics, their industries are now in Europe. So Europe is not natural part, and we hear from their leadership, they're more openly declaring that they are in full support of the Ukraine, and they want this war against Russia till the last Ukrainians. So this is a very much, warmongering approach we're going to lead. So they move this production there, and about 2 months ago, there is a mass, quantity of the drones start coming to Ukrainian troops. They receive the capacity to launch simultaneously up to 500, 600 drones long range, which is a range over 1,500 kilometers, let's say about 1,000 miles. So they're trying to hit our refineries. They're trying to hit some civilian, buildings. Definitely, if it has any strategic, I would say value or results, no. Yes, there is a reducing production in refinery for a couple of days. Then basically refinery back up and running. And then they change completely to the terror attacks. We know that, for instance, this was a terror attack when they perfectly knew that in the Lugansk region, there was a college where the students, over 100 of them, been in the dormitory, and the drones, came, attack, and as a result, 21 students were killed. Then it was not end of the story. There was no excuse. They said there was a soldier. Well, the journalist went and showed the proof there was a student, and there is none of military presence there, even close. After this, there was attack on the several buses. They start using these drones in a border region to attack civilians, any car which going, because of this new, what they call Martian drones with the AI vision, who take the same decision which target to attack. So they just, not even operator. It goes and it's choose any target, any moving car, any moving, even kid on the bike. And they just hitting this kid on the bike. So it's a purely terrorist approach. They're trying to, if they can't win on the battlefield, they're trying to see the discord and panic within the Russian population. But guess what? It's only make Russian population more resolute, and there is more and more demand from our president and from our, top military commanders. Hey, you need really to finish this. We have enough arsenal of the, proper I would say, weapons, which would definitely bring this war quickly to the end. Not resorting to the nuclear ones.
Which European countries are manufacturing these drones, these armaments being used against civilians in Russia?
Well, first of all, there is many factories which is in Poland, there is in Germany, in France, in Italy, in Denmark, in Turkey. There is a presence of them, I would say Spain, Belgium, Dutch, of course, British were the huge manufacturers who are contributing to their so-called cruise missile program Flamingo, which is in fact British one, And all this is officially announced. Hey, we are producing this. Ukraine will get, capacity to hit deep inside Russia. This is again pushing us towards to very close to the conflict, where finally we would be have no other choice but to start hitting logistic centers in the Poland, in the Romania, within the Germany, within all these countries, because they are part of the conflict. And accordingly, all the international law, we have a full right to attack those because they are manufacturing armament and they declaring that these are factories belonging to Ukraine. Think of this. If we now, put analogy with Israel, did Israel will tolerate if there is a Hamas or Hezbollah would have a factory in Jordan, in Turkey, who manufacturing this Katyusha rocket was hitting Israel? Heck no, they're gonna immediately, attack them. That this is a difference. So sometimes on the West, they thinking that restraint on our leadership is a weakness, but look on what's going in the world. We're really now very close to the all-out World War III in the most hottest stage, and when would be no breaks to stop it. And honestly, as you said, you've been too busy with Iran, and rightly so, because think of this: if this conflict in Iran will not stop and protract, what kind of the economical damage it's already caused? Because we're talking about that even. Yes, it's clear that the most visible is oil, which is not flowing through Hormuz Strait, but as important, this is a fertilizer, which was cut out of the production there. And Iranians have been very big producers of some kind of fertilizer worldwide. So it's already affecting, including Americans' farmers. And now, accordingly, the forecast of United Nations, there should be a shortage of the food and eventually hunger, first of all in Africa. And we're also talking about all kind of different chemical precursors necessary for the technological supply chain in China, which goes through all over the world. So this will affect entire humanity. Thanks God, President Trump did maybe, very late, but it's still, a decision to extricate himself from this conflict, and it's good news for humanity. Otherwise, we're still on the balancing edge where the one wrong move of Europeans in the, which is encouraging Ukrainians of attacking Russia, we can cause a reaction where we have, as again, Russia would have to respond with all might just to stop it. And then it will cause eventually, unpredictable reaction. And we are very quickly can escalate to the nuclear exchange. And then, nobody knows what will left from humanity. And for me personally, what I'm watching, looks like we lost a generation of responsible politicians, especially in Europe. First of all, Europe, just as we speak, on our rise, happened to transiting from the basically dictatorship. And it's not only dictatorship in each country like happened before the World War II, but it's double dictatorship. Many of them are basically unpopular, but they still cling to the power by manipulating winning the election, like we saw recently in Romania. This is the best example, but basically nobody was even considering opinion of the people. They just installed the government, which is a globalist or European leadership desire more. The same true for other countries. And then you have a Brussels bureaucracy or dictatorship who are basically make all this country, deprive them of their sovereignty. And this is with all the crisis economical situation, because Europe already committed economical suicide by cutting themselves off, reliable and relatively cheap Russian energy sources like a tube gas. Now they're forced to buy the, LNG from all over the world, and they have to compete for higher price. German industry are not anymore competitive, and we know that the first time for past 80 years, German automotive industry are basically on their final death bed, So what they're doing, they're converting the ex-Volkswagen and Audi plants into the line to produce a weapons and militarizing country. Germany introduced a law where the male population cannot leave country without, first registering in the special, kind of the military recruiting points. They openly saying that they need to have a strongest army in Europe in the 3 years. It's we already heard this similar situation, and it was right before World War II started with Hitler on power. And by the way, Hitler was also elected democratically. And what kind of the consequences is left for entire world? So for me, observing these processes and understanding that, look, our government really try all possible ways and means to bring some idea, hey, let's negotiate, let's mind our own businesses, let's rediscuss, rearrange, and have a proper security structure in Europe, which allowed to or prevent of any future conflict. This whole proposal been denied for the past 20 years. We're seeing that militarization and preparation for the bigger war and extension of the NATO, especially recent one when the Finland, Switzerland become part of NATO, is really causing a concern. It's our national security concern. So Russia already reacted by forming a new military district near that border, and our border with Finland, it's about 1,500 miles. So we have to put our resources there, and Finland recently voted that they allowed to bring in their territory nuclear weapons and store it there. Well, looks like, the European elites seriously considering a all-out, full-blown war with Russia, and they're thinking that they're gonna win in conventional war. Well, let me tell you, there is a bad news for them. Russia will not answer conventionally for their attempts to attack us. In our military doctrine, there is a postulate or formula where if we feel that any attacks against us are threatening our existence, we will answer with the nuclear weapons. And believe me, Russia have second to the known nuclear and most modern arsenal in the world. We definitely, with the one missiles, can completely obliterate and destroy all life on the territory like England or France, and that's definitely, we don't want to go this way. But if they're considering that they can conquer us, split us onto the, what they want, 32 small parts, make them like their resource, colonies, it ain't happening.
Well, having life insurance is one of those things that helps you sleep better at night. If something were to happen to you, what exactly would happen to your loved ones, your children? We've heard so many stories of families losing a parent and having their life insurance policy save their financial lives. That's the whole point of it. It makes all the difference in the world. The next question becomes, well, how do I get life insurance? And that's where Ethos comes in, a company we're proud to partner with. Ethos makes securing a life insurance plan fast and easy and 100% online. People don't get it because it's a hassle and it's expensive. This solves that problem. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There is no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions, then you can get up to $3 million in coverage, some policies as low as $30 a month. It takes about 10 minutes to get covered. Life insurance through Ethos. Free quotes are available now at ethos.com/Tucker. Ethos, ethos.com/Tucker. Rates and obviously application times may vary, but it's great. What do you think? I mean, this is all, you're not the first person I've talked to who's said this. I think everything you're saying is real. I think in the West, we imagine that President Putin is the most radical person in Russia. I think he's been a force for restraint, but that may not be possible for much longer. So I believe everything that you're saying. I don't understand why European leaders would want to have a war with Russia. What is the motive?
Well, the way I see it, all these leaders, look on Macron, look on this, Merz or Steinmeier, who was just resigned today, basically, as we speak. These people is most unpopular in their countries.
Yes.
Think of the European bureaucracy in Brussels. So for them, the war is maybe only way to cling to the power, to stay at power, to keep their influence. If they go to the war, they can declare, emergency, what do you call it? Declare the, war regime in countries and said, okay, we postpone the election, and then they grab power completely. Another one, we talk about that the globalists basically fully control Europe, especially Soros. For last 30 years, he invested heavily into, grew up all these leaders since their early teens. They become students, they've been paid to study in the universities, then they become activists, then they become politicians, and finally, they become leaders of their countries who have basically no even feeling to their own, native countries. They don't care about their own future. They are all part of this suicidal satanic cult. And this is where we come. For me, this conflict with Ukraine is basically become a religious conflict. And this is where we feel like this is maybe a final battle with the evil forces. Because what these people are doing, how they're treating even old population. Last week, I was taking part in the press conference where we have a public tribunal. It's a not official tribunal, for the crimes of the Ukrainian Nazi regime. And every time the group of volunteers goes to freshly liberated areas, towns and villages in Ukraine, and questioning local population who stay there, who remain and waited for the Russians to come and liberate them. And their stories, it's horrific how the Ukrainians coming to them, threatening them to say, oh, you stay there, you want to see the Russian army come and liberate you. You are traitors, we kill you. And they deprive them from the water. They just shoot anybody who move on the street just for fun. They treat them really like occupational force. And many occasions, even more ferocious or more horrific that used to be during the Nazi or German army occupation during World War II. By the way, today we have a national remembrance day of the first day when the Germany attacked Soviet Union in the 4 o'clock in the morning on June 22nd. So for Russians, for all, even many republics of all ex-USSR, Belarus, Central Asian Republic, this is a very somber day where we, with a full, trembling, remember our grandfathers, like my one, who died in the fight in the Kursk battle. And this is a really huge for us. So we are Russians, we know what is a war, we know what is consequences it comes. And for all of us, because we're basically same people with the Ukrainians, because the soldiers in both trenches are speaking same language. For us, it looks like more like a civil war than the war with this. And knowing how quickly, for literally less than 20 years, the brainwash propaganda was able to prepare a huge mass of these neo-Nazis, Banderites, who are now acting like a Nazi, like SS division, who are proudly celebrating. Just recently, Zelensky brought leaders of Ukrainian Bandera movement from the Europe, their remains, and with the full honors, buried them in a special memorial cemetery near the Kiev. This, of course, sparked some conflict with Poland, because these Ukrainian nationalists, which we call Bandera, troops or gang, responsible for ethnic cleansing, not only Jews, Russians, but also Polacks. Over 100,000 of the Polacks been killed by them in the areas. So, and now thinking that Europeans who've been, swearing that they would not allow any more reburn of fascism. And by the way, the funny facts, in Germany, for instance, it's forbidden to display any swastikas or any Nazi symbols. But they are blind to see that in Ukraine, there is many divisions, many military units are openly wearing Nazi insignia. And nothing, there is, like crickets from the, German investigative journalists, all those their presence. So for them, as long as they are fighting Russians, it's good. And it's also very, very serious that the Germany openly talking again of another, big campaign against the Russia. So we know how it ends up. And believe me, if we need to repeat like our grandfathers, we will do it. But we rather try to find those with the sober minds and to say, hey, do you know the consequences? Do you really want to see again Europe destroyed till demolished, and then you want to rebuild again? I don't think so. Population are even been asked. I'm utmost sure that every European country, there is a majority is normal people who, like you, like me, like many, normal people everywhere in the world, are willing to have a peace, prosperity, some normal cooperation, and all problems or disputes we can solve through the negotiations, whether it's a commercial, whether it's, other ones. But apparently, despite we're thinking that we are in advanced level of our civilization, that we can be proud of our achievements in the technology and the science or medicine. But look, how we are different from what's happened, let's say 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. We're still again in these vicious cycles of the war, vicious cycles of the ego of our leaders, vicious cycle of the people who just for the grabs and their, what you call it, the treasures which they can go and grab in other countries as a result of their, invasion or attack. We're basically exactly the same mentality, and this is maybe problem of the humanity. And unless we change it, we're basically doomed if we don't see some drastic changes in the next couple of years. Because look, drones are changed a lot. Now we see what's happening with the AI and this manifesto, what they call it, technocratic manifesto of the Alex Karp is basically techno-fascism. And now think of this, if the Musk produce an army of drones, and these drones would be unleashed on the battlefields, where the full control on the surveillance system, social credit control over all the population, which they want to introduce. And now we as humans really left very little opportunity. In this case, Russia may be the last, I would say, holdout, which is by fighting in the front lines of this conflict, not only defending our future, our sovereignty, but maybe a future of entire humanity, the way we know it, the way we want it to be in the future.
Well, I can understand why Barack Obama wanted to put you in prison. Now I understand perfectly well. Inflation makes credit card statements particularly scary. You work 40, 50 hours a week just to buy groceries and gas, things you used to be able to afford without thinking that much about it. Then the banks charge you 20% interest. If the system is designed to keep you underwater, it's working, but there's another option. Our friends at American Financing are doing something the big banks despise. They are helping people. Mortgage rates in the fives, supporting the American dream of homeownership, and they're showing homeowners how to take their hard-earned equity to wipe out high-interest debt. Now, we're against debt in general, but in this economy, most people have no choice at all. So don't go bankrupt, enslaving yourself to a lender. Average savings are about $800 a month, and it takes only 10 minutes to talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant. No upfront fees or obligation to see how much you can save. Give American Financing a call, 800-685-5696. That's 1-800-685-5696, or visit americanfinancing.net/Tucker, America's home for home loans. Now, may I ask you to explain something that you said? You said at the beginning, this is fundamentally a religious conflict. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Think of this. Majority, over, I would say 80% of population of Ukraine was a Russian Orthodox Church of Ukrainian Patriarchate, which got their own autonomy, but was a integral part since, ancient times when, and remember, the Kiev was the city where the Russians received their Christianity. So for us, Kiev is a part of our national, I would say, cultural code.
Yes.
And so artificial creation of Ukraine appeared literally less than over 100 years ago, and it was invented by the Austro-Hungarian, I would say, the leaders, military ones, who trying to control Russian-speaking population of the empire. So they created this nationalistic movement and tried to brainwash them that they are different, And basically, this population identified themselves as Orthodox and the Russians. They've been speaking on the dialect of Russian. They've been believing in the same church. So for us, the church was exactly the same. And then since this bloody coup in 2014, they start to decide that they need to make a reform. They need to abolish the Russian Orthodox Church and create Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They've got this separatist, smaller church. And then for the past, 12 years, they just using the police, using the gangs of these neo-Nazis, who are, by the way, never been a Christian. They are, what you call it, the pre-Christian believers, similar to they have their own pantheon of the gods, not the Jesus Christ. So they, with their help, they try to go to each church and force the original priest out, put a new lock and say, this is now Ukrainian Orthodox Church, not the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. So there is the war against them. And then for us, the Kiev Pechovra Lavra, it's a monastery which has most ancient history, uninterrupted service on the Russian Orthodox Church, with a lot of the relics, buried in their, huge underground tunnels. They shut it down, they evict the monks, and now they pillage whatever relics and bodies of the saints which been buried in this and mummified in this, huge system underground caves. All those now pillaged and sent to the Europe. So all the priests been evicted, and what they did in the biggest temple there, they just created a military canteen and doing some Satanist performances. So for us, this is also a big deal religious war. Think of this: those Ukrainians who eventually living in the police state, they can't express their different opinion. Their government hunting the people of the street, all males capable to hold the arm, and sending them to the front line, because Ukrainian army losing a lot and they need a manpower. So in this condition, of course, population in Ukraine are completely, I would say, under the strictest and most probably most harsh condition. I would compare it to the biggest prison on the open sky, because you can't leave the Ukraine unless you are not belonging to the elites. You be caught and sent to the front line to used as a cannon meat, and then you last about a couple of days. If you're lucky, if you're surrendered to Russian army. We're seeing every time that they're losing so much that every body exchange between the Russia and Ukraine usually goes like recent one. Russia transferred about 27 bodies. Russia transferred to Ukraine about 1,000 bodies and received back about 27 bodies of fallen soldiers. And this proportion tells you about the huge, basically demographic problem. There is no future because several generations been killed by this policy of this leader. By the way, there is a problem with Zelensky because his term is expired. So he didn't want to announce new election. His so-called parliament, their terms are also expiring. And very rightful question, with whom negotiate? Who has a legal authority even to sign any, I would say, agreements or peace deal from their name? And this is also another question to ask. Why the Zelensky don't want to have an election? Why all these people are talking much, but they disregard a desire of Ukrainian people? Accordingly, recent polls, which is done, by the way, by the Western Journal, or by the Western organization, I think it was American and British, they found, and they double-checked it several times, that the over 80% want the peace deal with Russia. This is the problem. So what will be future? We don't know, but we're really, really, worried because, look, Ukraine now trying to attack nuclear power plants. This was their attempt several times to hit hard Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And their endeavor to the Kursk region of Russia. You remember it's happened in 2024, I guess. Yeah, 2024, when they, by surprise went to the Russian territory. The entire target was the Kursk nuclear power station. They wanted to hijack it, occupy it, and then, try to, try to negotiate with Russia or swap with Zaporozhye or something else. It ain't happened. Now we're seeing also worrisome rhetoric going from Zelensky that he threatening to Belarus. So they're trying also to basically do some kind of the lightning strike operation in Belarus. Well, I don't know if his army is capable to open another front line over about 1,000 miles in the lakes. Looks like suicidal, but I think we're living in the age where the logic or pure, logical calculation or prepare are not working anymore. All these leaders in Europe looking more like, I don't know, buffoonish, like a clowns. Well, Zelensky at least openly been a clown. We saw all his performances. So what you can expect from him. But I think France or Germany, or a matter of fact, Britain cannot have somebody more decent than those, despicable personalities whom, when you're seeing how they behave, what they're doing, well, it's just, I feel very, very much sorrow for the proud people of France or Germany, matter of fact, or in England, what's happening there. Basically, their fabric or even civilization, European, are being demolished, are destroyed. There is a huge replacement of the population happening with this uncontrolled immigration. Unfortunately, it's also happening in America for a very long time. I guess this is one of the points of the of the globalist elites. Let's replace basically white Christian population with somebody who we can easily control, use them as then foot soldiers for their, expansion campaign. You discussed talking for, I would say, very long time. There is a connection between the Jihadist Islam and these extreme left movements, basically. Trotskyites have a lot of fun with the jihadists and all this, fundamentalists, especially the Islamic ones. And this is really, really dangerous. Another very important point I want to share with you. Apparently, we lost some kind of the limits of the dignity. Look on this, what's happened with this conflict with Iran, when the first day they just openly killing the innocent children in school. Same happening by Ukrainians. And all the international law, all rules written and unwritten of the conflicts, all the military kind of the unwritten rules of conduct when two army fights, when you put the white flag, you surrender. It's all, thrown to the garbage bin. Nobody anymore abide by these rules except Russia. And, for us, we can't just be as despicable as our enemies. So, our army behave very decently. Think of this. I think you reported it. There was many cases when our soldiers who've been captured and become prisoners of war have been forcefully sterilized, killed by the doctors. What kind of doctor you are if you have to help of the injured, soldier? Yes, he is captured, but it's still your duty to treat them. He is prisoner of war. He is not criminal. And those doctors in Ukraine who've been just, amputating their genitalia, killing them, harvesting their organs, threatening them, putting the swastika on their bodies, who they are. Or those soldiers, when the Russian soldiers surrender because he has, run out of ammunition or something, they just kill him. And they kill him in most vicious way, oftenly, making footage of this and then busting by this footage. Yeah, this is how we kill this one. So this is why I'm telling you, it's becoming not only conflict where two sides are really very angry to each other, but this become now a religious war.
What can you do to monitor important parts of your life that you can't always keep your eyes on? Things like the far corners of a job site or ranch, or let's say you've got a boat dock somewhere and you can't check on it every day. Cellular security cameras from Defend are the answer. These cameras are very easy to install. No Wi-Fi required, no complex setup process. You don't need to be a master electrician to do it, no running wires all over the place. You just mount the camera, turn it on, and it automatically connects to the strongest available cellular signal and starts sending photos and videos directly to your phone. You can be across the country. You never have to wonder what is happening where you live. You've got total security all the time. It's a gate entrance, a construction site, it's your barn, cabin, anything else you need to keep your eye on when you're gone, this will do it for you. And unlike a lot of security systems, this is affordable. Peace of mind for an honest price. DefendCellCam.com is the address. Go there, see for yourself. DefendCellCam.com. If you've got a signal, you've got 24-hour security. Is there any way to stop it?
Well, look, there is two ways. Of course, now there is a lot of push inside Russia. We're saying to our government, hey, why we don't using the proper, why we don't killing the, Zelensky, because we have all the means. So, of course, how you deal with the satanic cult? Well, sooner or later, you need just to eliminate them because there's no way you can negotiate with them. Another situation, think of this. There was last year negotiation in August in Anchorage, Alaska, where the Putin and Trump met and basically discussed. And Trump make promises how to settle this conflict, and Russia accepted this. And we're still waiting when Trump gonna, do his part of the deal. And apparently there is no result. He can't either force or don't willing to do it. Then, recently, Russia decided, we finish it by ourselves with our military. Of course, it would be easier to finish it by the negotiations. Well, Trump can stop this war very quickly. The Ukraine heavily depends on two factors. Without these two factors, they can't fight even a day. First of all, this is Starlink, which is their, a key communication system. If you switch it off, then Ukrainian army has no any communication, has no any control of their drones. They can't attack deep inside Russia. All signals, everything goes through Starlink. So all these long-range drones who killed our children in the buses, or who killed the coach of the Belarusian saucer team, which was traveling from Belarus to Black Sea resort, and the Ukrainian drone attacked it, knowingly that this is a kids, there is no single soldier in that bus. They all been using Starlink technology. So this is number one. Second one, no any single attack are possible if United States will not share the intelligence information from satellites, because every time Ukrainians attacking, it's online approach, online access to the all a group of American spy satellites who telling where is the air defense, where the radar coverage, where the a new passage open because Russians move something. And this is very critical. Think of this. If these two factors are removed, basically, I guess within one day, there is a Ukrainian army would in complete chaos, and they can't even communicate among them. Everything from the, commanding, choosing the targets, everything there, it's system integrated to the NATO system. And basically, people in Pentagon has a full access to battlefield in their cabinets because they are providing the system to Ukrainian soldiers. So Ukrainian army can only exist when this communication and intelligence are flowing to them. The moment it stops, they just blind. They stop fighting. Another one, despite the Trump refused to provide any new delivery of weapons to Ukraine, he still, I guess he still finished whatever the Biden administration is supposed to deliver to them, all armaments, and now they're talking of approving new package. And Trump says, okay, if you buy, I send you. Well, I don't care if these HIMARS who will kill innocent civilian in the Crimea, or they're threatening to attack Crimean Bridge, or, they again now threatening to use chemical weapons or even biological ones. There was already several documented cases when Ukrainian was using a poisonous gas or using the white phosphorus, which is forbidden by international convention, or matter in fact, try to spread some biological bugs with the hope that this would be spread and cause a severe damage. So this is all, the terrorist basically approach. Of course, if Ukrainian regime are in agony and they have no other resource just to start a terrorist war against Russian population, well, they would not achieve it because it only will make us more angry and more resilient to finish this war the way we wanted to from first day of this conflict.
I have to ask, because you were in the armaments business for so long and know a lot about weapon systems, how do you think drone technology will change warfare going forward?
Well, it's already changed drastically. So the tactics are completely, for 4 years, changed incredibly. And if somebody would say 4 years ago, this would be the war, nobody would believe from military. I have many friends who in the front lines who dealing with this, and they telling every 2 weeks there is a change in tactics because of the drones. Every 2 weeks there is a new, either, improvement in technology, either improvement in something, and they have to find countermeasures to tackle it. So this is a huge development, and it's really future. So now there is a race of the, technological capacities who will outproduce more drones, which drones would be cheaper, more efficient, and which drones would be not subject to the jamming or, other countermeasures. So this is a war, unless, would be some possibility that this would be found technological solution where you can just, make sure that no single drones can be operating using some, high frequency, I would say, weapons or, certain other, weapons using other physical principles. We don't know yet, but definitely it's all now on the test, on the fire testing, on the battlefield testing. And believe me, improvements happening so quickly. For instance, many military units have now their own, I would say, workshop where they're producing necessary spare parts, 3D printing, assembling the drones, adjusting them, reprogramming. There is even many where they're putting their control units with the microchips themselves. It's becoming mind-blowing, and it's really becoming now a competition, not only foot soldiers who are more bigger or more endurant, more physically fit, and it's now also fight for the more skilled soldiers, those who can operate drones, those who can quickly assemble them, produce them, those who can quickly repair them, those who can quickly use them properly. So this is a huge change. And now I think there is a new, I would say, arms race in the world where many countries now trying to study this experience in this conflict and using, this experience to adapt their own, forces for that. And we're seeing that, Ukrainians started since get-go sell these armaments, which is the West supplying them on the black market. There is many reported cases of delivery, including to Hamas, including to Hezbollah, including to Mexican cartels. Yes. And I'm not even talking, and nobody knows how much illegal now arms in the criminal circles in Europe. So that would be another time bomb, which is unfortunately European countries, planted themselves for their own future. Think of this: if you get.
May I just ask you one question though? Okay, so what you just said, I believe is factually true. Elements of the Ukrainian military sold weapon systems that they received from the West, the United States, NATO, to a bunch of different terror groups around the world, including Hezbollah and Hamas. Now, Israel has a very close relationship with the Zelensky government. Israel has to know that. If you and I know that, the Israelis know it. But they've said nothing about it. Why would the Israeli government allow the Zelensky government to sell weapons to Hamas and Hezbollah?
Well, that's a $1 million question, I would say. Another one, why on earth Israelis would send over 2,000 instructors to train Ukrainian army on the beginning of the conflict? How come they refused really to condemn what's happening with this rebellion of the Banderites, leaders in Ukraine? So the country who are celebrating or defending memory of the all victim of the Holocaust, apparently in cahoots with the Nazi regime, and they defend that the Zelensky is a Jew, are not working anymore. If the Jew who betrayed the memory of his family, of his grandfather, who, by the way, was a colonel of the Red Army and fought the Nazi Germans, would maybe now turning in this tomb, knowing that his grandson are basically sold out his nation, his memory, and what he did by fighting the German Nazism, defending the future. So his grandson would go and destroy the Ukraine and sell it out for the Nazis again. It's unbelievable. So definitely Israelis knew it, but by some means we're living in the world where hypocrisy become a norm. Where sometimes, even before, I would say 20, 30 years ago, you see the leaders when they're lying, they feel themselves uncomfortable. I think now for them, lying and being hypocritical become completely norm. And if you're honest and open-minded, it looks like, I would say almost like a deviation.
It's an amazing moment. It's very hard to understand what's happening. It does seem like drone technology means that no civilian population is safe.
Correct. And Ukrainians has a special tactics whenever they abandon certain, village or small town. They immediately terrorizing the civil population with the drones. They're hitting kids. They're not allowing all elderly women to go and get the water. They're not allowed to get them humanitarian aid. they really terrorizing with no any military sense. What you doing? And since they've got a lot of the drones, would you believe that for each soldier, for instance, sometimes there is up to the 20 SETI drones are sent just to kill one soldier?
How many Ukrainians and Russians have been killed in this conflict? Do you know what the real numbers are?
Well, no, I cannot tell you exact numbers, and eventually it's very difficult to estimate. But one thing is clear that Ukraine suffered at least 3-1, if not 5-1, comparing to the Russian losses. Just analyze how many cemeteries appeared in Ukraine, how quickly they are filled up, and this Ukrainian army not care about how many soldiers they're going to lose. They just doing everything to suit their nice photo op or any propaganda purposes of the Zelensky regime, when he wants to report that he's sending endless waves of the soldiers. Basically, they have no chance to survive, but they're still sending them. Whenever they surrendered and it's time to remove them, they never give this order to, hey, get out unless you would be encircled. They let their own soldiers literally perishing. They never remove much of the bodies. There is several reasons. First of all, we know that for every fallen soldiers, Ukrainian government has to pay a significant amount. So for them, accept anyone dead is a kind of the painful. So they basically has a practice when they are considering majority of the dead people like a missed in action. And when the Russians return their bodies, the family has to go through the painful process in Ukraine to prove that he is dead, and the government own the money. Then they're saying, okay, you're going to get this money within 10 years by the small installments. So even they are basically fooling their own people who believe them, who send their sons to fight. And this is a horrible tragedy. I don't know. Look, demographically, Ukraine cannot be the same anymore because their population, especially male one, especially of the reproductive age, are basically destroyed. Now they start to bring immigrants like from India or from Bangladesh or Pakistan, trying to replace. Accordingly, certain data, there's now over 300,000 there, and they want to replace more because basically the villages are empty. There is only elderly women left there. And since the war protracting and we forced to destroy the infrastructure in Ukraine, which is feeding the military installation, there is no water, no electricity, no communication. So it's very green future, especially look, Russia been forced to destroy their central thermal stations, which is responsible for the heating in the big cities. So now what Ukraine not telling, and they're trying to sell to the West that they are winning in the front lines, trying to attack some refinery deep inside Russia, that Ukraine cannot even anymore to keep the during the winter, decent temperature in the house. We're not even talking about the hot water supply. Forget about. So their capital, they in such a decimated state with the attacks, with the corruption, with the negligence previous this conflict, that wouldn't be livable, this city during the winter. And it's not only capital, but many other cities in Ukraine. So this is a huge history when Ukraine become a black hole for corruption and hugest laundry machine in the history, when we know that basically Ukraine apparently involved in all political scandals for the last, 10, 15, 20 years in United States. How many impeachments was there? And they have a Ukrainian connection. So since 2004, I guess 2002, when Ukrainians heavily invested into the lobbyist, and in the United States, and we know everything from the Hunter Biden Burisma, employment, and a part of the Hunter Biden, there was many others which are not that known yet, who've been, in the pay list of the Ukrainian corrupt regime. Plus, we never know exact amount, but think of this. Definitely, certain, I would estimate maybe 1/3 of everything was sent to Ukraine was recycled back to political sludge funds in the United States, especially Democratic Party. We know that there is many senators are so happy to go to Ukraine. We know many cases when the Ukrainians paying lavish honorariums, premiums to come to Kiev, and walk through and make photo ops with Zelensky. So they tried to buy their, influence. So they corrupted, the West, they corrupted the United States, and eventually there is a lot of similarity with the Epstein. Basically, Zelensky using the same tactics. Let's not only corrupt by money, but let's provide such a facility when all the visitors can have everything they want. You want drugs, it's there, plentiful, free. You want underage girls, it's free. You want something else, more, satanic, you're welcome. I think this is an issue of the, Americans taxpayer who are really now suffering themselves, and instead of minding their own problems, like unrepaired bridges, making sure that at least water is clean in all small towns in America, or infrastructure correspond to not to the third world, but at least to the superpower level. Would be shocked to know that all their money instead of this was sent to the Ukraine, and this was basically not for good purpose. Majority of this was stolen by Ukrainians. Another part was given back as a bribe, and whatever is rest, somewhat was used for the so-called defense of the independence of the Ukrainian people who are suffering from a Russian aggression.
Yeah. And in the meantime, they destroyed one of the last majority white Christian countries on the planet. So maybe that was the point. I have to ask you one last question, because I think I thought about it at the time. So you were released in a prisoner exchange under the Biden administration. You were in American prison for a long time. When the exchange happened, so you're a very famous person internationally and in Russia, the Biden administration released you in exchange for the release of some women's basketball player on a marijuana charge. Were you surprised by it? Seemed asymmetrical.
Brittney Griner.
Yes.
Well, by one thing for me, this was literally some kind of insult,
Right.
At least they could exchange for Paul Whelan, which I was expecting.
Exactly.
But on the Biden administration time, this maybe was only choice. And this is why she was a black, she was a lesbian, and she was a basketball fan. If not for NBA fans who put a lot of pressure for Biden administration, ESPN was running every day a kind of the stunt to, call attention that Brittney Griner is still in Russian prison for almost nothing, for some, a small quantity of CBD oil, which is forbidden in Russia. So they put a lot of pressure. So Biden administration, because they are succumbed to the LGBT agenda, and they need to bring, then in front of center of their, attention and policy, was forced by this kind of activism, where you put by one hand NBA fans, another one LGBT community. For Democrats, it's basically, you're done. You can't even move. You can't do nothing. These two come to you, you better do what they want. You have no choice. So for me, it was clear when, this started, basically. Of course, the negotiations protracted, but, well, I can't complain. I'm thankful that my government decided to bring me back, despite, by other hand, I was already like a, product with the expiring date pretty soon. If they don't exchange me this time, in 4 years, by now I would be released, nevertheless. So for Americans, I was kind of losing big value, despite they created this dramatic, myth about me that I was the biggest arms dealer in the world, that was second to bin Laden, that, whatever happened in the world, I was responsible without any proof. well, I have no gringe about it. Whatever happens, happens. It would be maybe subject to different other, books or movies or storytellers. But now I'm more concerned not about my past, but about our present and about future.
Yes.
Knowing that, believe me, if because look, I spent what I would say from 14 years, almost 12 years in the United States, prison, lockup. And this time, there was a lot of Americans, real patriots with me. Many of them was a political prisoners. And I learned a lot of how the real America lives by their stories. And I believe that Russia and American people has so much in common.
Yes, I agree.
Because of our geography, because we are both two people who are very generous, who are very hardworking, who has basically same mindset. Because when you have this geography, you only can conquer it and live on it by having completely different mindset. And this our similarity. And I do believe if the America would be able to free themselves of this, control of the globalists who are really using America as a test ground before they run all over the world. Because look on the history. They started with American population, deindustrialization, sexual revolution, drugs, all been first introduced in America, destruction of the normal family in the black population, then, bringing transgender agenda, LGBT agenda, and then it starts spreading all over. So in this case, for me, American nation is real resistance, who trying, despite all the facts, despite all the mainstream media dictatorship and control, there is still independent voices like you, like others, independent journalists like Alex Jones, and many others who, despite all the problems, are still able to have a opportunity to speak their mind, despite every time they encroaching on this liberty of the freedom and expression. And this is why, in my opinion, we really can not only have a normal relation, which I wish we could, but we can have a really, really good friendship relation with the United States. And think of this: if our two countries will put our resources, our ingenuity, because Russia, we also invented a lot of stuff the same way like Americans does. And many of your inventors basically came from Russia. If we talk history of television, we call it history of Sikorsky, we call it of many others. So there is always, I would say, interpollination happening between our cultures. If we unite and stop fighting, stop become sworn-in enemies and cooperate to solve the problem we have on the planet, then the sky is the limit, or maybe even sky are not limit. Then together, think of this: we really can explore the space. If we focus, and instead of spending money, how we can guaranteedly, destroy the planet 100 or 200 times, we put these efforts into science, into modern medicine, into the space exploration, into new physics. I mean, that's would be completely different planet we're living on.
Well, you're a very wise man. I'm not embarrassed to say that out loud, and you certainly understand this country and what's happening. Viktor Bout, I appreciate your spending the time. Thank you.
Thank you.